The meeting to order. It's a meeting of the Maplewood Economic Development Authority. Special meeting Monday, August 10th, 2020. Ms. Sint, do you have the roll call, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Smith?
Pardon me.
Oh. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Abrams?
Here.
Commissioner Juniman?
Here.
Commissioner Neblett?
Here.
President Knutson?
Here. So, thank you. For discussion and voting tonight, we'll go in this order. Commissioner Juniman, Commissioner Neblett, Commissioner Abrams, Commissioner Smith, and President Knutson. We have a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I move the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Juniman, second by Commissioner Abrams. Any discussion? Commissioner Juniman,
No. Thank you.
Commissioner Neblett,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Abrams,
No.
Commissioner Smith,
No, thank you.
none for me. All those in favor, Commissioner Juniman,
Aye.
Commissioner Neblett,
Aye.
Commissioner Abrams,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
and I vote aye. We have a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Juniman. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Any discussion? Commissioner Juniman,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Neblett, Commissioner Neblett,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Abrams.
Yes, just one point on the minutes on page 2 of 83, or I guess it's D3 up in the right-hand corner. Instead of moved to nominated
Oh,
for
nominate.
one of the items under new business election of officers, it should
Yeah.
just be nominate. And
All three of them are that way.
right, all 4 of them.
Oh, all four of them, yeah.
Yeah, the first 4
Uh,
are all like that.
Yeah.
Just a correction.
Thank you.
With that correction, let's see, Commissioner Juniman,
Aye.
Commissioner Neblett,
Aye.
Commissioner Abrams,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Okay, we have no public hearing tonight, no unfinished business. Our new business, we're going to consider a resolution adopting tax increment financing plan for tax increment financing district number 114. The presenter is Ms. Coleman. Is it Mr. Thompson?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thompson, you want to go ahead?
Thank you. Mr. President, can you hear me okay?
Fine with me.
Okay.
Yes.
So tonight, commissioners, we have an application, a TIF app, a tax increment financing application for the Maple Ridge Shopping Center site in Maplewood. The TIF application is actually coming to us from the property owner, which would be managed by Slate Asset Management. And under the terms of the project, or the deal between the entities, Hy-Vee, which the council is aware would be a tenant within this project, would actually lease this property, lease their tenant spaces from the property owner, who would retain ownership. Tonight, we're reviewing the first step in the tax increment financing application, and that's the establishment of a TIF district, TIF redevelopment district on this site. Jason Arsvold, the city's financial consultant and analyst with Ellers, is here tonight to provide some additional information on the TIF plan. And you'll probably hear us say this a couple times, but just noting that the application tonight, what's before the EDA, is really just the establishment of the district. the terms of the assistance package for the property owner will come back to the EDA at a future meeting once the agreement has been negotiated and finalized with the owner. I would just note before Mr. Arsvald provides some information that this is the first TIF district that's going to be created by the city under the new EDA model that was adopted, the modified enabling resolution from last year. So as part of that, we anticipate that the agreement, though the city has other TIF districts in the city, those have been city agreements ultimately with the city, that under the new model of the EDA, this agreement will actually come back forward to the EDA, and it'd be an agreement between the property owner and the EDA. But again, that'll be at a future agenda once that has been finalized. So with that, just to provide an overview, that tax increment TIF, tax increment financing, is a tool that essentially captures the increase in property tax as a result to pay for certain development costs, with the goal being an economic development tool that spurs economic development, creates jobs, as well as remove blight. So as I mentioned, Mr. Arsvald is here this evening to provide a presentation. And after that, and any questions you may have, the city attorney has drafted a resolution for the EDA's consideration tonight, which would approve the tax increment financing plan for the new TIF District 1-14. So with that, Mr. President, Mr. Arsvald, as I mentioned, is here this evening as well.
Good evening, Mr. President, Commissioners. Can everybody hear me okay and see the screen that I'm sharing with the presentation?
Yes.
Great, thanks. Mr. Thompson said, again, Jason Arsvald with Ellers. We just have a brief few slides here talking about the actions that we're looking at this evening. Sorry, there we go. Really what we're doing tonight is asking for approval of the TIF plan and modification to development district number 1. So the development district is simply the larger area within which you're creating tax increment districts. And the plan before you this evening is really a document that's setting forth some of the policy objectives for this particular project. If you look at the plan, it really just shows where the geographic location of the project is. And it's setting a maximum budget. And I've highlighted that just because it's important. This is not the assistance that we're providing. This is just a budget for planning purposes, the amount of potential TIF revenues and expenditures collected within the district. And this is your document to plan for that district. And what it doesn't do, and this is important, is identify or grant any assistance to a developer. There would be a separate agreement that would be approved at a future meeting that would direct assistance to a developer. This is really just setting up the district itself. Just a brief overview here, a couple of slides. This is a redevelopment tax increment district, so there needs to be some rationale and authority for you to create a TIF district. This one's being done as a redevelopment district. It qualifies by virtue of the fact that there was a study done and identified enough coverage here and blighting conditions within the building to allow it to qualify as a redevelopment tax increment district. That full report is included as an appendix within the TIF plan. And the TIF here can be used to pay for certain eligible project costs. Essentially, it's remedying the blighting conditions on the site. And that's really being done by the fact that we're creating a new grocery store in this location, rehabbing the building, creating new accesses, things of that nature. And these are set up to run for a maximum duration of 26 years. Now, the plan you have in front of you sets it up for that maximum duration to provide flexibility for you as a city in terms of how you want to administer your district. But when we get to actually providing the assistance, we anticipate that it wouldn't need to stay open for that long of a duration, that it would be much shorter duration than that. And just moving along here, as I noted, there's a maximum budget. So the maximum budget that you'll see there is just under $4.8 million. And that's based on an anticipated project value of $15.5 million. Now, this is a maximum budget. It isn't the amount of assistance that's going to the developer. Often these can be confused and people wonder, geez, are we approving over $4 million in assistance? No, you're not. It gets that high because what we do is include 3% inflation and 4% interest, just assuming that's what's paid on a note over time. And that just gets us up to that number over the full 26 years. as I've noted here, the actual assistance is going to be closer to $500,000. And based on current estimates, it's looking like 8 or 9 years to repay the TIF at that point. And this is also anticipating pay-as-you-go payments to the developer. So what that means is that only tax increment will be used to make payments on that pay-as-you-go note. You'll say, developer, we promise to pay you as you have in other deals, TIF projects within the city there, pay you, but only from the increment collected from your project. If that increment isn't sufficient for whatever reason, the city or EDA are not obligated to make up the difference. And in the plan, you'll also see that there's an allowance for city administrative costs. So 90% of the increment collected will get directed as payment on those pay-as-you-go payments to the developer. 10% will stay with the city for admin costs. And when you get to the end of the time frame that the obligation is repaid, then the district can be shut down at that time. So again, probably shorter than that. Well, will be shorter than that 26 years that is the maximum life. So in terms of what the next steps look like, so there's a requirement to hold a public hearing as it's noted on your agenda. That's happening, of course, this evening at the city council meeting. Then that both the EDA and the city will approve tonight the TIF plan. But as I noted, there's still a need to approve a development agreement to grant and direct tax increment to the developer in this case. And so the EDA will consider that agreement at a separate meeting. And as I noted, we're not talking about the amount in the budget, but something closer to $500,000. And that'll happen at a future EDA meeting. One other little thing you'll see in front of you at some point here will be what's called an interfund loan and a resolution creating an interfund loan. And all that is you need to pass that in order to reimburse yourself from tax increment. So right now what we have is a situation where there are costs being incurred, but you're not going to have tax increment for up to 2 years from now. Passing that loan resolution will allow you to repay yourselves from future tax increments to make up any upfront costs that you incur that aren't reimbursed in creating the district. So you'll see that come before you as well. So with that, I'm going to stop and stand for any questions that you might have about the TIF plan or the process.
Thank you, Mr. Arsvold. Questions with Mr. Arvold or Mr. Thompson? Commissioner Juneman? Commissioner Juneman? How about Commissioner Neblett?
Thank you. I have one question because I've never been involved in a TIF process before. Assuming that we go forward with this tonight, how long does it take for I'm calling it an approval, it's probably not the right word, to come back to the EDA to finalize?
Mr. President, Commissioners, this is Jason. Action tonight that you take will create the district. So you won't need to act again as the EDA or council on establishment of the tax increment district. There will be future action, as I mentioned, on an actual TIF agreement to direct the assistance. And the timing of that is really just going to be dependent upon how soon those terms can be finalized and how soon the agreement can be drafted and reviewed by all parties. But likely in, a month or two at the latest.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Commissioner Abrams?
Thank you very much. I don't really have any questions. What I want to just add is, from my experience being on the council since 2014, Maplewood has been very judicious in creating TIF districts. And from my perspective, there isn't a better project for us to create a TIF district or a better time amidst a pandemic to create a TIF district for a project in our city that I think is going to bring jobs and economic, the creation of a lot of business in our community. And so I don't have any questions. I am very pleased that we are doing this.
There it goes.
Yep, it wasn't, but it didn't until I got it to you. Thank you.
Commissioner Juniman,
Well, I finally got my mute button unfrozen.
there you go.
I thought maybe I wasn't supposed to say anything, which is fine, but no, I had no questions at this time. The presentation was very helpful. Thanks.
Commissioner Smith,
No questions. I concur with Commissioner Abrams.
I just have one question. This would probably goes into the developer agreement, but how long is the lease that Hy-Vee has with the property owner or developer?
President and Commissioners, this is Jeff. I don't know that specific information. I know we do have Brittany Finch on the line tonight from Slate Asset Management on the property owner, so she may be able to answer that question.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi there. Yeah, so it's 15 years, if I recall correctly.
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Abrams. This is a great project. Well laid out. I think it makes perfect sense. And so, thank you, Mr. Arswold.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
this is Ron Beatty, EDA attorney. You can see I'm wearing my EDA hat.
I can see that.
Yes. Just to follow up on Commissioner Neblet's question, Mr. Arswold is right. The plan will not come back to the EDA. There are certain administrative functions that have to occur. I mean, the whole point here is to request certification from the county, which establishes the base tax level, and it's anything that increases up from that as a result of the improvements that generates the increment. So there will be other work that has to be done to finalize the plan, and then it gets sent to the state, but you won't see it again. You, the EDA, won't see it again. The only other thing I would address is, as has been commented upon several times, a similar item is on your agenda as the city council this evening, and why so? The answer to that is the entity that proposes a tax increment district is called the authority, the tax increment authority. In this case, the EDA is the authority. So whenever that is the case, when the city is not the authority, the city council must hold the public hearing. And that's why you will, in effect, wearing your city council hats tonight, have a repeat of this, except it will also be in the context of a public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. That was helpful. Okay, now we have need for a motion. That's on page 5. So we
I
need a-
will move to approve the resolution adopting a tax increment financing plan for tax increment financing district number 1-14.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Abrams, seconded by Commissioner Juniman. Discussion, Commissioner Juniman,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Neblet,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Abrams,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Smith,
No, thank you.
and I have none. Okay. All those in favor, Commissioner Juniman,
Aye.
Commissioner Neblet,
Aye.
Commissioner Abrams,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Thank you. That was great work. Now we have, we need a motion on page 81 for an intent to close our meeting to consider a term sheet. So in paragraph A,
Pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D.05 subdivision 3C, I hereby move to close the meeting and go into closed session to consider purchase offers or counter offers for property located at 1946 English Street North.
Second.
motion by Commissioner Abrams, second by Commissioner Juniman. Any discussion? Commissioner Juniman,
No, thanks.
Commissioner Nevlet,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Abrams,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Smith,
No, thank you.
and I have none. All those in favor, aye. Commissioner Juniman,
Aye.
Commissioner Nevlet,
Aye.
Commissioner Abrams,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So now we have those careful instructions. I think we're on number 2 from Mr. Foles. So we will leave this meeting and move into our closed meeting. That's the call for a EDA meeting on the 24th of August. As you recall, we decided a time ago to try and meet quarterly. That meeting would be August 24th. Is there a motion?
I would move to call an EDA meeting on August 24th, 2020 at 6 PM.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Abrams, second by Commissioner Juniman. Any discussion? Commissioner Juniman?
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner Neblett?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Abrams?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
No, thank you.
And I have none as well. Let's call for the vote. Commissioner Juniman?
Aye.
Commissioner Neblett?
Aye.
Commissioner Abrams?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That concludes the August 10th special meeting of the Maplewood Economic Development Authority. The meeting is adjourned, and I'm going to hit my coffee cup on the table. Ouch.